Millennial exhaustion is not about being weak. It is not about attitude. It is about the exact psychological and neurological cost of growing up in a world that made specific promises and broke every single one of them. Here are the 5 reasons, each one deeper than the last. Reason 1, the promise that was broken. Study hard, work hard, and life will reward you. That was the deal. Every adult in their lives said it. Every institution reinforced it. And millennials believed it completely. Then they graduated, straight into the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression. No jobs, impossible housing, student debt that followed them for decades. Psychologists call what happens next narrative collapse, when the story your entire identity was built on turns out to be false. It does not just disappoint you, it destroys your mental map of how the world works. And rebuilding that map while simultaneously trying to survive is exhausting in a way most people never fully recover from. Reason 2, their nervous systems never got to rest. Before smartphones, when you left work, you left work. There was a natural rhythm to human stress, tension and release, demand and recovery. That rhythm is not optional. It is neurologically essential. Millennials were the first generation handed technology that eliminated it completely. Email at midnight, work messages on weekends, the permanent pressure of being always reachable. And what happens to a nervous system that never gets genuine recovery time? Cortisol, your stress hormone, stays chronically elevated. It damages memory. It impairs emotions. It makes everything harder. Millennials did not choose to be always on. They were handed the technology before anyone understood what it would cost them. Reason 3, they were required to brand themselves publicly and continuously. LinkedIn, Instagram, personal brands. The pressure to curate a version of yourself that is impressive, authentic, and aspirational all at once is a psychological demand no previous generation ever faced. And here is why it is so exhausting. Performing yourself keeps your nervous system in permanent low-level vigilance, monitoring, adjusting. Am I being perceived correctly? Psychologists call this chronic self-monitoring, and research consistently links it to anxiety, identity confusion, and deep fatigue. They are not exhausted from being themselves. They are exhausted from the relentless performance of being themselves. Reason 4, they internalized a broken system. Hustle culture told millennials that struggle was a personal failure, that if you were not succeeding, you were not working hard enough. And a generation already destabilized by economic collapse believed it. They worked harder, slept less, said yes when they should have said no. And here is the psychological trap inside all of that. The harder you work inside hustle culture, the more exhausted you become. The more exhausted you become, the more you blame yourself. The more you blame yourself, the harder you work. A loop, completely automatic, socially reinforced. And millennials ran it for years before the word burnout even existed in everyday language. Reason 5, they are grieving a future they never received. This is the deepest layer. Millennials are grieving, quietly, continuously. The stable career, the affordable home, the financial security their parents had at the same age, the simple feeling that working hard leads somewhere safe. Psychologists know that unacknowledged grief is one of the most exhausting psychological states a human being can sustain. And when the world keeps telling you your struggles are personal failures rather than systemic consequences, the grief has nowhere to go. It sits in the body, in the bones, in the tiredness that no amount of sleep quite reaches. Millennials are not lazy. They are not weak. They are people who were promised a world, worked extraordinarily hard to reach it, and arrived to find it was never there. And somehow they kept going anyway, built careers in economic wreckage, built relationships under impossible pressure, raised children while healing wounds nobody acknowledged they had. All of that, tired, every single day. That is not exhaustion. That is endurance. And there is a profound difference.